Hello, my name is Youjin Kong, and I'll be an assistant professor of philosophy at the University of Georgia beginning in 2023. I'll be speaking today about intersectional fairness in AI. Intersectionality refers to the idea that racial, gender, and other forms of discrimination are not separated, but they intersect and operate together. Rooted in Black feminist thought, intersectionality has become a gold standard in social justice research in the humanities and social sciences. In recent years, a growing number of studies in computer science have also begun to use the concept of intersectionality for analyzing bias and improving fairness in AI. According to these studies, an AI algorithm is intersectionally fair if it achieves statistical parity among intersectional subgroups that are defined by different combinations of the protected attributes. I call this dominant view of intersectional fairness PA, which stands for its two keywords, parity and attributes. For example, according to PA, a hiring algorithm is fair with respect to race, gender, and disability if each of these 8 subgroups, regardless of their intersecting combination of the attributes like race, gender, and disability, has the same probability of getting hired, say 30%. However, is such an algorithm really fair? Is this a useful framework to implement fairer AI for a fairer society? I argue that it is not. My paper identifies and examines 3 fundamental problems with this dominant interpretation. First, it misinterprets what intersectionality is about. I argue that the dominant view is so preoccupied with the intersection of identities or attributes such as race, gender, and disability that it fails to address the intersection of oppressions such as racism, sexism, and ableism, which is more central to intersectionality as a critical framework. Second, in responding to the question of how many attributes we should consider, the dominant approach faces a dilemma between regress and gerrymandering. In other words, the dominant view either should keep splitting groups into smaller and smaller subgroups infinitely, or should stop splitting at some arbitrary point. I examine researchers' attempt to resolve the dilemma by considering only statistically relevant subgroups, and demonstrate that it is not successful because the question of what is relevant is itself a political battleground, not merely a statistical problem. To illustrate this point, I discuss how airport scanners label humans as either female or male, and exclude trans and non-binary people from the discourse of relevance. Lastly, I argue that the dominant view fails to capture what it really means for AI algorithms to be fair in terms of both distributive and non-distributive fairness. I discuss why AI fairness can be better examined through the lens of non-distributive justice, as Iris Marion Young puts it, the elimination of structural oppression. The key takeaway from my research is that we need to rethink the notion of AI fairness. We already know AI is biased, but mathematical and technological solutions will not work to make it fair. This indicates that we need a different framework to understand and implement fairness in AI. I suggest distinguishing a strong sense of fairness from a weak sense that is prevalent in the literature, and conclude by envisioning paths towards strong intersectional fairness in AI. Thank you for your attention to this presentation. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out by email.